Let's get a read, though, on some of the market themes, macro themes we're watching this week. Peter McGuire joins us in studio from XM. Peter, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Ingrid.
So this week, I guess, when you look at what's ahead, we've got some central banks in focus,
Sure.
in particular the Fed, Bank of Japan.
BOE as well.
Yeah, what are we watching? What's key?
Well, you've got to ask yourself, first off, what are they doing as far as inflation and the Fed? Is it just going to be a PR exercise? Sorry.
Yeah, will it get a big mention, do you think? Will we get some confirmation from what was announced at Jackson Hole?
Well, I think so. And what also happens, how long are they going to run this low interest rate environment out for? Is it 24? Is it going to be longer than that? Biden's ahead in the polls. So there's so many different components running forward, but that US dollar doesn't seem to be, it seems to be pretty much range bound at the moment, still around that 93 handle, the US dollar index that is. So there's nothing there to sway it. The Fed's certainly outstripped the ECB as far as stimulus dollars. So that's where I just don't see the US dollar really being a major player at the moment.
We're also
in the sense of upside.
Yeah, and we're also about to hit an election there.
Yeah.
Of course, we know that
50 days, I think.
Yeah, it's getting closer and closer, and you just wonder how much stimulus will pass Congress here as well.
Well, exactly. Do they wait till the 3rd of November or after that date to really do some major points moving forward, or do they take some action now? You've got those major wildfires across California and certainly Oregon, so that could really cause some concern domestically there, as well as many other different feasts of interest.
Peter, when we look at what else we're watching this week, Bank of Japan, very much in focus. Abenomics has been what we've talked about for years and years and years.
Absolutely.
Is this set to change?
I don't think so. Naturally, we've got the Chief Secretary seems to be the front runner there, Mr Suga, and so in turn, if Mr Suga actually gets the role, he could call a snap election. He's only got less than a year to go as far as the term, that political term. The groundswell would be fairly, I think, positive for him. So if he calls a snap election, they'll keep that sense of power. And the next thing, of course, is to keep those Abenomics frames moving forward over this decade.
So you think it will just continue almost as normal in Japan?
I think so. We'll find out very shortly.
Yep.
But I feel
today,
as though,
right?
I believe so. That's my understanding. They'll be looking at that this morning. So if Mr Suga does get the role, I think that will be a positive tone for Japan. And that's not a bad thing.
All right.
They're really, it's still, an economic powerhouse.
Yep, watch this space when it comes to Japan. Also, moving over to the Bank of England, no deal Brexit in focus when it comes to
Can you
that
believe
situation.
It's still a conversation?
I can't believe we're still talking about it.
Either can I. We're immune from it, and it just seems to be just a rolling circus.
Yep.
So let's see what Boris can pull out of his hat. Again, trying to pacify and keep everyone happy in the ECB and what's happening on the domestic scene in UK land.
And I guess the question, when you look at this, it probably would be having more of an impact on the economy, right, if we hadn't have had COVID. But because COVID's been there, it's almost irrelevant what's going on with Brexit.
Well, it is, and I think everyone's just sick to the back teeth of it.
Yep.
So it just seems to be that sort of work in progress to try and get it over the line.
Yeah. I want to talk some behavioural things because you were mentioning this off air and it was quite interesting, just in terms of whether people need to trade every day. So if you're in the market, and you're watching market moves, and there's so much that happens every day globally, do you need to be on it every day?
I think you need to be on it every day as far as watching the markets, but you don't need to be in it every day, depending upon, first off, risk profile, secondly, what markets are you trading. If you're trading US markets and you live in Australia or Asia, then your sleep is severely compromised. Are you resting? Are you making those right decisions when you're fatigued? What time of the day do you sleep? All of those factors are taken into consideration. How do you trade? Do you sit in a room that's dark or do you trade off a mobile phone, or do you trade after having drinks at a bar? What's your profile? What do you actually do? Because there's so many different components feeding into that decision-making process.
Is it also a fact of patience as well? I mean, it's so easy just to trade on what you're seeing because, as we said, so many catalysts every day.
Sure.
Is there a sort of good point just to sit back and watch?
I think you've got to be First off, yes. I think secondly you've got to have a scene of say 6 or 8 different markets that you look at.
Yep.
Maybe you look at the tech sector. Maybe you look at currencies, commodities. Certainly, what's going on as far as crude or gold because they're major volatile plays. But if they're not moving and you're not trading option strategies as far as strangles or something quite exotic, then you need to be looking at, what instrument are you trading? How much leverage do you trade? And do you and I think every trader really needs to keep a journal. That might sound basic, but the amount that don't is just incredible. They never write anything down. They don't take those decision-making processes seriously and track how they behave and what they feel like when they make those decisions. Am I running at a 7 out of 10 today, or do I feel fatigued? And what impact does those fatigue decision-making processes have? Do I dial leverage up because I'm fatigued? So you really need to analyse this and analyse yourself. It's very, very intriguing.
Particularly interesting for all the Robin Hood traders that are getting into it now.
You bet. Well, look at retail, what they've done over the last 5 months. I mean, the growth has just been enormous. So I think just people need to be conscious. You don't need to trade every single minute of every day.
Really interesting stuff, and interesting on the behavioural front too, Peter. Thanks for joining us on the show as always.
Good to see you, Ingrid.
Peter McGuire there from XM.